There you go.
I would like to call this regular November 28th board meeting to order. Can I get roll call, please?
Ms. Buckley?
Here.
Mr. Kudick?
Present.
Ms. Lanasi?
Present?
Ms. White?
Present.
Ms. Roscoe?
Here.
Ms. Frayer?
Present.
And Mr. Minkevich is present.
May we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next item on the agenda would be the approval of the agenda.
I'd like to add an item E1. There's a athletic field trip to Milwaukee in December. And since it's out of state, we should approve it.
Okay.
I'll make the motion to approve the agenda with the addition.
Support. Motion by Mrs. Lanasi, supported by Mrs. White. Are there any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Next item on the agenda would be the approval of the minutes from the previous meeting.
Make a motion that we accept the minutes from the previous meeting of November 14th.
Support. Motion by Mrs. Roscoe, supported by Mrs. Buckley. Are there any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The next item on the agenda would be the report of the superintendent.
No,
The
the
two
other
minutes.
meeting.
I'm sorry.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve the minutes of our special meeting, executive session held on November 17th.
Support.
Motion by Mrs. Buckley, supported by Mrs. Lanasi. Are there any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I don't have any personal action.
Now to the next item, which is the report of the superintendent. Joel?
Thank you. There are no personnel actions tonight, which is the first time like in forever. Then we move on to the bills for payment. You have the registers there in front of you, and would recommend the approval of the payment of the bills at this time.
I would like to make a motion that we approve the bills for payment.
Support.
Motion by Mrs. White, supported by Mrs. Roscoe. Are there any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
We're supposed to have a healthy living presentation tonight, and
Mr. Dolan blew it.
I had discussion with the corporate staff members to arrange for it last week, but apparently there's been a breakdown in communications, and we will have to reschedule that, so I'm sorry that.
It
we
is
can't
unlike
do it
them,
tonight.
so it was probably on our end, not mine.
But, so we'll move on.
Okay.
The next item would be, at the board's pleasure, at your special meeting, executive session, you interviewed candidates for the position of interview firm for selecting a future superintendent. It's the two companies that we interviewed were Michigan Education Institute and the Michigan Association of School Boards. It's at your pleasure to make a choice at this time.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to recommend that we hire the superintendent search service provided by Michigan Association of School Boards. And I'd also recommend that we do this on a roll call vote.
Support.
Okay, motion by Mr. Minkevich, supported by Mr. Kudick. Are there any questions? Roll call, please.
Ms. Buckley?
Yes.
Mr. Kudick?
Yes.
Ms. Lanasi?
Yes.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe?
Yes.
Ms. Frayer?
Yes.
And Mr. Minkevich also votes yes.
I will notify the firm tomorrow, and I think as when we were talking in the interviews, everyone wanted to get started with setting up a timeline and things very soon. I'm just thinking ahead in terms of that, if we might want to schedule a possible meeting with them next Monday. I'm not sure they'll be available, but would that be a good time for folks if it, that would be about the 5th of December.
That would be.
Yeah, I think it is the 5th.
Yeah.
5th of December. I have nothing scheduled.
It's fine with me.
It's fine with me.
It's okay.
It's fine.
Okay, well, if that's possible, and we'll be back with you as as soon as possible relative to that issue.
Is that a, for sure, or do we want to set a
No,
time?
it's not for sure, no, it's not.
Tentative.
It's tentative, I don't know what their availability will be. These are pretty busy folks, and there's a lot of boards across Michigan who meet on Monday nights, and they may have their time scheduled already. But
Okay.
the flexibility of them having two people might also help us there, because if we're just talking about a timeline, I think we'll actually probably be talking about more than that, but, or you'll be talking about more than that.
It should be, hopefully we'll be able to get it, because we did receive a correspondence that said if they were selected, it would be more than one person willing to work with us, so maybe.
I'll-
Tom had a question.
I'll deal with it first thing tomorrow morning. so-
Okay.
What time would you try to schedule that around, like 6 o'clock?
Sure,
6:30?
6 o'clock?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock is fine
6 is
for me.
good.
Write it down and they'll let us know.
Okay, that's what we'll look for with Mr. Hartman.
Okay.
Next item is a financial item. We have an attached resolution relative to the tax and to the cash flow note we borrowed this year. We borrowed about $1.5 million this past year for cash flow purposes at the end of the summer. And there will be a time that comes relatively soon when we'll need to pay that note back. Unfortunately, with the way the years are set up, with the state's year not beginning until October 1st and on our year beginning on July 1st, that creates kind of a cash crunch because we don't start receiving 06, 07 money until into October next year. And we've got July, August, September, and part of October's expenses to meet before that point in time. So we will probably be in a position where we'll have to borrow at least as much money as we did this past year. It's usually at a very favorable rate. But to ensure the repayment of the existing note, you'll notice on page A1 there's a schedule of set-asides for each month, January through July, set aside approximately $205,000 at the J.P. Morgan Bank. The first 6 notes will be certain at the dollar rate shown. The last note will probably be less because there will be interest earned on this money between now and the time that the payout occurs. But this would be with the J.P. Morgan Trust Company National Association. And we need a resolution to set this up. We don't have to do this necessarily. We could just sit on this and just have to come up with the entire chunk of money. But I think this is a really good faith way of doing it, and we're between business officials at this point in time. And I think that we don't want to have anyone have any ideas that there's going to be anything slipping through the cracks, and this will certainly prevent that. So I'd recommend that we adopt the attached resolution for your item sheet.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we adopt the attached resolution before us regarding the electronic transfer of funds.
Support.
Motion by Mrs. Buckley, supported by Mrs. White. Are there any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you. You have an item that we added to the agenda. It's in front of you rather than in your packet, and it's relative to our basketball team making a trip to Milwaukee to play on the evening of December 10th. They did this last year in a very similar situation. It's to go and to play one game. It's at no cost to the school district. The transportation and hotels and meals will be provided. It's an opportunity, though, for us to get area-wide or Midwest area-wide recognition, and it gives our kids an opportunity to play in a really competitive, strange environment, which is very good, because as we go through the years in the tournaments, being able to play in other people's houses is a real important part of being successful. So I'd recommend the approval of this field trip.
Can I get a motion, please?
Madam Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the field trip for Romulus High School basketball team for December 10th at no cost to the district.
Support.
Moved by Mr. Mankiewicz, supported by Mrs. White. Are there any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, the next item on the agenda would be communications and expressions from the public. I don't have anything here in front of me. So we'll keep moving on. The next item would be the items and interests from the superintendent.
See, those are self-explanatory. I might put in a couple of other interesting items, though, that have really happened since the agenda was put together. And one was that we had a civil rights audit from the state of Michigan last Tuesday. And you never really know what you're getting into when you have outsiders come in to look over the school district. And we met with these folks at 8:30 in the morning, and then several of us, probably 10 different people at least, met individually and were interviewed for 20 to 30 minutes. They met with students who they chose on who they were going to interview. They went around and looked at buildings. They centered their building viewing, however, at the high school. That's where most of their concern was. And then we came back at 1:45 in the afternoon, and we had just the most wonderful experience with this group of people. They were going to use, they want to use us as an example on how we should be doing what we're doing to help take care of the needs of equal opportunity for everybody, be they handicapped or whatever the situation might be. They were very, very, our pool has the ramp in it. We've got elevators where they need to be, or lifts where they need to be. Our procedures for dealing with complaints were just exemplary as far as they were concerned. And they asked permission if they could use us as a reference place. They looked at our high school. You know, the original part of our high school was built in, I think, 1957. Mm-hmm. It's hard to tell that that building is not 3 years old instead of 50 years old. And they almost embarrassed us. They were so nice. And at one point in time, they said that, you know, you don't need to be quite so good about being compliant about somebody who's in a wheelchair. For instance, if the child is getting out of class a minute or two early to get to the next class, that's all well and good. But if the child is leaving an extra minute or two even beyond that so they can be first in the lunch line, that's not necessary. She said, you don't have to coddle people. They need to have an opportunity that's equal in some way that they're able to participate as though they're part of the regular group. And they said, it's okay for a person in a wheelchair to be in line and to not necessarily be at the end of the line, but be in the line and go through it with the other kids. And I felt kind of good that we were being told we were doing too well in that situation. So I'm just so very, very proud of all of our staff. Bill Musham just did a tremendous job on putting together the reporting stuff, and central office folks, and the folks at the high school, and students, everyone who was interviewed, it was unbelievable. One woman made a statement also. She said, I was walking down the hall, going from one point in the building to the other, and there was a student somewhere else, and there was a piece of paper, and the kid picked the paper up and put it in a wastebasket. He said, I never see that anywhere. And there was nobody telling the child to do it. There was nobody prodding anybody. It was just someone taking pride in their school and in their community. And these folks were just, they'd been to a neighboring school district the day before, and we blew the neighboring district out of the water. And it's one of our favorites. But I'm just real happy to be able to report that. And that's the good news. Now, the bad news is, if I could just talk for just a moment. I met with our auditor this past week, and we had him do a quick and dirty kind of review of finances and where we're headed and so forth. And as we've talked about, as we developed our budget, things are getting tighter. Our savings account is about gone now, so we're going to start crossing over into the red ink of our operation, it appears, which means there will probably be some very, very difficult decisions that we'll have to start lining up for next year. There's a couple of revenue problems, and we're working very hard to straighten those out, and we've talked once before about the situation with the new airport hotel. But whether that's on or not on the tax rolls, well, it's been put on the tax rolls, but they're not paying their taxes, and there's a dispute between the county and the state and the city on how that should all come out, and we're the ones sitting here with a plate with no money in it, because there's $750,000 at stake for the last tax year and another $750,000 for this tax year that we're now in. And, it will work out over time. We've got a $1.5 million problem right there hitting us right between the eyes right now. So we're working very hard on that issue. I've got the head of our auditing firm, Ron Traskis, pursuing this with vigor, and if need be, we will become more vigorous if we have to, but we're moving ahead with that. And then just the other part of it is that we've got a situation where, yes, we got a little increase from the state this year in terms of money, but we don't know that that's necessarily going to stay with us. I think it will for this year, but next year we've got labor contracts out there that are unsettled. We've got many teachers moving up incrementally on our scale. Most of our teachers are not on the top of the pay scale anymore, so we've got challenges out there, and it's never too early to start mentioning that we're gonna have to take some real hard looks at everything that's going on. And I've taken one other action. It's a minor action, but I did it administratively. I sent out a memo the end of last week, probably was delivered the first of this week, to reduce the temperature in all of our buildings by 2 degrees. That, in effect, saves about 6% in the utility that is heating, which would be gas in our case. Well, a 6% reduction in quantity used, if that's what happens, is certainly not going to make up for the increase in the cost of it. But we're not suffering in terms of what the temperature will be for the students. But the students and the staff are being asked in the name of energy conservation, which also means conservation of our dollars in terms of the heating costs. So if you hear some complaints, people having, the communication's out there, things are out there, and the temperature is not so difficult that it'd be a problem. It's generally going to be about 70 everywhere. We haven't crossed the line down into the 60s at this point in time. I hope not to have to do that at this point. But that's where we're at, and we're trying to do the right kinds of things for the right reasons. That's all I have for this evening. And I'll try to have everything arranged for hopefully next Monday. We can proceed.
Okay, thank you, Joel. Questions and concerns of board members? Ken?
I was just going to ask, excuse me, real quick. On the tax roll thing here, did the city put this hotel on the tax rolls, or they
Yes.
failed to do it? What was the?
No, it was put on the tax rolls, and the taxes were not paid. The previous hotel was not on the tax rolls. The new one was put on the rolls for like $42 million or something. It's quite a high dollar place, and I'm not even sure who owns the hotel or who's got the lease on or what the deal is. I don't really know much about the hotel specifically, but there's a big problem here, and we're the ones right now that are taking it on the chin. It's a temporary thing, hopefully. It would be worked out. This could take a couple, 3 years even. It doesn't always happen overnight. And that hurts us in terms of being able to provide for the children.
Mrs. Lanasi?
Are we rolling on? Because I have nothing to say about that.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I have a couple things that I wanted to bring up. First of all, I wanted to congratulate Mr. Smith for becoming Teacher of the Week from Barth Elementary School a couple weeks ago. We also had a Romulus High School teacher in tonight. I forget who she is. Maybe Tom can help me. I cut the article out, and I didn't bring it. I'm real sorry, but I'll have it the next meeting.
Tonight's paper?
It was in today's paper, yeah. I also want to congratulate the officers of Local 64. I was glad they let us know that they've changed their officers, and I wish them all good luck. I also want to thank the Culinary Arts program. They, as everybody knows, I'm a part-time employee with the Romulus Senior Center. And we have Meals on Wheels over there. In culinary arts, all these students made all these pies to deliver to our Meals on Wheels people. And I thought that was so nice. Each family got a pumpkin pie. And we all appreciate what they did, every one of us, and I want to thank them. They did a good job. That's it.
Any other questions or concerns of board members?
I had a couple things that were activities that I attended. A week ago, Friday, the girls' basketball team was playing in the district tournament at Garden City. They played in the final game. They were defeated by Belleville, but I thought our girls really put on a good show. They hustled and really played hard. The other one, the Community High Middle School had a program just before Thanksgiving. They actually take some of their students and go scuba diving at a local pool. Then they make different units out of this. They tie it in with math and science and everything else. And then they finish it with having a meal. And they had a Thanksgiving meal, and they also had some award ceremonies that went on with that. And then on Barth Elementary, they have a cookie club that special ed students make the cookies and sell them throughout the year. Then they had a Thanksgiving luncheon on, I think it was Wednesday of last week. And again, they had some awards and things that they gave out. But those were all real nice activities that went on within our district in the last several days.
Good,
Go ahead.
good. I just have one thing. Tom, is there a way that we can, I don't know when the middle school is going to be coming in front of us to present. I don't have the calendar in front of me, but can we coordinate with Phyllis and maybe get her to present about their detention program, how they work things over there? I've just heard a few things lately that have kind of bothered me, and I'd feel better if I knew. I mean, we know what the elementary schools are doing with their no bullying program. We know what they're doing at the high school with their referral program,
actually
but
the same.
I haven't heard anything regarding the middle school.
Essentially the same problem.
As the high school, or is it
Yeah.
elementary? Because I know they're significantly different.
As the high school. They
As the high
both
school.
have adopted the Romulus way, and it's a planning center, so
Who's in charge of that, do you know?
Rhonda would be in charge of the in-house.
Okay.
But
Okay.
I can, I'll give you a call. Can I give you a call? Or
Yeah,
you-
would you please? And
Yeah.
we'll just coordinate with Phyllis and get her to come in and talk to us about it. Does anybody else have anything, any questions from board members? Naima?
I don't have a
Ms. White?
question, just a comment. Also, this week, I know, well, last week, because all of the schools were doing something, and of course, we couldn't get everywhere, but Romulus Elementary did have a special persons day that I thought was really nice, where each student was allowed to invite a special person, and then once they got in the classroom, each class had a particular activity for the person, and then they had a little refreshments and stuff after that. And they gave certificates for whoever, came for the special persons day. And I think that's the second year, or they might have been doing it for the last 3 years, but it was really nice, well organized, and an excellent turnout. So it's something positive going on within our schools.
Good, good, great. Is that it? Okay.
You know, I would like to add one more thing, April, into what Mr. Carr was talking about. I was a school bus driver for many years here, and we took field trips. And you would go in the other schools, and it was such a shame to see what students were doing in these other schools. And I was always proud that Romulus students took pride in our building. You could see the other school districts that we went to, there was no pride there at all. But you can see that when you're visiting other schools. And I've always been proud of our Romulus students. They've always, every now and then you'll get one that slips up, but they get caught. Thank you.
Okay.
I'd like to bring up one other thing, too. We are going to receive a national award at the School Board Association meeting in Chicago this year, and we've had an overwhelming turnout of board members who are interested in attending this. And I think that everybody should really take a really close look at what your schedule is relative to that and the number of days and so on. and we need to make some commitments here in just the next very few days. So I need for you to get individually with Carol. I know one or two of you have already gotten with Carol, and we're working through it. But I guess I would encourage that in the interests of, finance, that if we go for absolutely the minimum number of days that we need to be there for. And I know there's a lot of training, a lot of good things going on, but I think we just need to take a real close look at what we plan on doing so that it's the right thing for our community. And we definitely we've got to be represented, because this is a national award. I mean, this is one of the greatest things that's ever happened. But we need to do it in the modest fashion, not the bombastic fashion that some folks often play these things out to be. And I know we wouldn't be bombastic, but we need to look at it carefully. And please give her a call in the next few days, and we'll work through it.
It is April 10th, which is a Monday. It is from 12 to 2, the award ceremony.
Okay, so it's
Conference is the 8th
8th
through the 11th.
So.
Yeah, and Joe's right. It's a great conference. They're having some Steve and Bob. They're having some top-notch.
Oh, they really are.
Cole
And
and
the good
Powell.
news is it's
Cole
close
and
this year. It's in Chicago. It got canceled in New Orleans and it's brought closer to home. But we still need to be as judicious as we can.
Joe, the other thing when I spoke to Carol today is tomorrow is the official day once housing opens. And once that, if you don't get right in, then you're going to be somewhere way off in the other direction, because in the manual it's like 30 different places you can stay.
And we could be
But-
almost scattered all over the place, too.
Yeah, and it
versus
fills
all
up really,
Well, I
really
think what we'll do
fast.
is I'll have Carol put in hopefully for an appropriate number, and then if we have to back off, there's a time we can back off without penalty. But please get a hold of her just as soon as you can. So
Because they
we're
won't let
together.
you book a room until you have.
Yeah, there's a lot of hotel rooms in Chicago, but
So we don't have to book for the whole conference, we can book individual days, correct?
that's right.
Okay.
And if I'm fortunate enough to go, I've got a son who lives about an hour away, and I'll stay with him. No, I won't. I'll stay with him. He's no fun anyway.
Okay, the next item on the agenda would be adjournment.
I would like to make a motion that we adjourn.
Support.
Motion by Mrs. White, supported by Mrs. Roscoe. Are there any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
6:52.